Emma James of MediaWatch, good evening.
Hi there.
The French president's getting a hard time over a coarse turn of phrase, but it's not just the fact that it's rather rude that is the problem. What's he been saying?
Yes, indeed, it does rather beg that question. Emmanuel Macron visited a factory in central France today, and you wouldn't expect that kind of a visit to make national and even international headlines, but it did. This particular factory is threatened with closure, and a lot of the workers have been staging some very lively protests there and strikes and the like. And what he actually said, the Times in London, their headline is "Macron in the merde over unguarded remarks." Merde, of course, rather a saucy word, not actually the word that he used. But what he said was that these workers, instead of causing trouble, which is a polite way to translate the phrase he used, a less polite way is to say stirring up a word I can't use, so we'll use poop instead, stirring up poop. Some of them would be better off going to see if they can get a job over there at a nearby factory where they are hiring. Now, this is a car plant factory. He was talking about an aluminium factory where he said, oh, I'm sure they have the qualifications to go and work there instead. There's been a lot of discussion everywhere, really, about just how rude this turn of phrase is. In the newsroom here, I did a bit of a straw poll. Would you use the phrase in front of your grandmother? And generally, people felt no. This Twitter user saying French people have been debating for an hour if Macron is allowed to say this or not. And there's a photograph of LCI, one of the French news channels there, where it's been a hot topic of discussion. Now, spokespeople for Emmanuel Macron have ridden to his defence. Bruno Roger Petit, who is the press secretary, if you like, for the Élysée Palace, said that the quote was cut, that it was taken out of context, and he posted the full video to try to refute the more damaging comments and criticisms of it.
Did that work?
Not really, because he does say this phrase, and it is very much a criticism of the workers involved. Bruno then went on to say that Emmanuel Macron didn't realise he was being filmed at the time. But as HuffPost points out, there is a very large microphone. Exactly, circled in red. So there's no mistaking that, and obviously the cameras are right in front of him from the position of this.
And this is a president who's incredibly media savvy as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's simply not believable to think that he wasn't being recorded at that time.
This phrase, can I just stop you for a second?
Yes.
Because Macron's often referred to as the French Tony Blair. Is this the kind of phrase Tony Blair would entertain using, do you think?
I would think not.
The English equivalent? There's no way, is there?
There really isn't an English equivalent. But because it is very rude and it is very coarse. It's not just what it means, it's the words used as well. It is a very coarse way to express
and the context too. It showed a real sort of disdain for the workers, didn't it?
Well, and that is one of the big criticisms that has come out today. Christophe Castanet, who's a spokesperson for the government, said that the president should be able to use the same language as all French people.
That doesn't cut.
No, a lot of people don't agree with that at all, including Clémentine Autain, who's from La France Insoumise, the left-wing party. Rebellious France is often translated as. What she says is it is contempt based on class contempt, if you like, towards employees who are fighting for their jobs.
So once again, this accusation, he's the president of the rich.
Absolutely, very much so. And of course, as the Daily Mail points out, another international paper that's picked up this story, this comment comes just a few weeks after he said that protesters complaining about the potential changes to employment law here in France were slackers. He wrote them off as slackers, as lazy. So this is something that Emmanuel Macron is being criticised on fairly regularly.
He called all French journalists narcissists too, didn't he, as well? He sort of picks his targets and hits them, doesn't he? You know, well, we're not French journalists. We're
good point.
Different nationality. Some people drawing comparisons between Macron and another outspoken French president.
Yes, Nicolas Sarkozy, or President Bling Bling as he became known, was sometimes a little unguarded too in his remarks. And Marianne is one of the French publications that is drawing a parallel between this turn of phrase and the fact that Nicolas Sarkozy once said, and I'll translate this in the most polite way possible.
Go steady.
Go away, silly man.
Go away, silly man. But it was a lot ruder what he said, wasn't it?
An awful lot ruder than that. And of course, at other moments, he referred to people who were protesting out on the streets, young protesters, as the racaille, the riffraff, the scum, scum, really.
Scum, basically. Yeah.
So he quite often used those kind of phrases. Looking at the HuffPost front page today, they have drawn the comparison by calling him Macronzy, wondering just how much Emmanuel Macron is going to follow in the footsteps of Nicolas Sarkozy. Taking a look at Mediapart, they've done a more measured analysis, really, of the many faux pas that Emmanuel Macron has already managed in his relatively short time in power. It's not even 6 months yet. And there is quite a list, it has to be said. And what they say is Macron's words speak for him, because there is a lot of meaning behind the words. In this article, they talk about, obviously, the use of the word slackers, the fact that at a start-up meeting of businesses, he said, there are those who succeed and those who are nothing. Which was a horrible way to write off an awful lot of people. He talked as well about the fact that his ideas are too complex for people, ordinary people, to follow. And he has branded people illiterate. That was back when he was economy minister a few years back now. So there have been quite a few moments, really, where he has used very much the wrong turn of phrase. The HuffPost, again, they seem particularly obsessed with this story. And they say that really this is reinforcing the idea that he is the president of the rich, président des riches, because, of course, he's made those tax cuts for the wealthy and basically doesn't seem to be able to connect with the common man, if you like, if I can use that turn of phrase. So, yes, and, of course, the makeup bill of €26,000 that he ran up in just 3 months.
This is makeup for his studio appearances, media appearances,
yes,
basically
very much so.
anytime he's photographed.
Yes, and last month, Politico, the European version of the online website, they talked about Emmanuel Macron's arrogance problem. And the thing that they cite in this article was when he met a gentleman who complimented him on his suit, which cost €1,600. And he said, the way to afford a suit like this is to work hard. And what they are saying is that he needs to stop making comments like this if he is to gain in popularity.
This one costs $400. I think it's okay.
Well, he did attend his inauguration in a very frugal suit, just $450 euros, that one. But yes, he does have a tendency to dress up on occasion.
Thank you for calling my suit frugal. Emma, thank you very much indeed. Emma James of MediaWatch, great to see you.